seek counseling. There are plenty of resources, whether it's through social media, Facebook, insurance companies can connect you to a therapist. Also, there's websites that such as it's Psychology Today. There also another one that's focused on Black therapists that are readily available where you can connect to therapy. So some grief that happens, and so I think of Kubler Ross. So the first stage of it is denial. It's like you're denying, it's hard for you to accept the fact that you lost your loved one. Then from there, you feel anger because it starts to hit you that this loved one is no longer here. Then you try to bargain. Bargain is a way of, if I do this, can this loved one return?
Mm.
Um, you know, because you want them back. And
Mhm.
so, of
Mhm.
course, you do. Then you start to feel the depression. That's when the depression hits.
Mhm.
And then finally, from depression, although this is not easy, you come to acceptance. Accepting that, I mean, unfortunately, your loved one is no longer with you. So that's some stages of Kubler Ross and the stages of grief. Um, so you'll experience even different signs like appetite issues
I
and
had that issue. Yeah. Don't,
yeah.
and I still haven't got it back after 4 years. I lost so much weight
Mhm.
behind it because I just don't want to eat, you know.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely depression. I
Yeah.
mean appetite. Definitely just isolation. That can happen too because
Yeah, I did that.
you
I
start to
did that
feel
too.
like distancing yourself because it's heavy. When you lost a loved one, that's heaviness.
It
That you
is.
experience.
It really, really is. I remember sitting in the closet, like the dark closet, because I didn't, or not even cutting on the TV. And still to this day, I I will have the TV on and the TV, I'm not even watching it, or I may not even cut it on, or just like brain fogs. Like I heard that's another one that a lot of people who have, trauma, chronic PTSD, and things like that. I still have an issue with police cars. Like if I see a police
Hmm.
car coming down the street, I freeze up. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't, thank God, that I'm not doing anything crazy where I would have to really have that encounter with police or even really go out. I'm still working from home. So that's like my safe space so that I'm not really out about all the time. And when I'm out, it's like literally going in and I go do what I got to do and then I come
Hmm.
back in. It's not really a lot of playtime because I'm just really, really nervous about
Hmm.
lights, the sirens, and that's because
Hmm.
you see all that stuff, and it's just like you hoping nothing happens to someone else's loved ones. So yeah, I have chronic PTSD so bad. I
Hmm.
remember when it first happened, I couldn't even talk. Like I had this bill collector call me, and I just bust out crying on the phone. And I know I scared them, but I couldn't even handle any business or
Hmm.
anything because my anxiety was so bad. It was like anything somebody was saying at that time was so triggering. I couldn't go down streets that me and my son went down on. I couldn't visit stores that we both went to together. I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't go near where he worked because I would just have like a whole anxiety attack.
Yeah. And then you have distrust for police even.
Yeah, yeah,
Law
yeah,
enforcement, distrust.
yeah. I don't trust them at all, and I know that there's some good ones. Not everybody's bad, but because of what happened to Jalen, it's like I'm looking at everybody with a side eye. Like, are you one of the good ones, or are you one of those? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And then it's like I try to stay as far as away that I can, because
Yeah.
I don't want no type of interaction with them at all. I went to, I don't know what year this was. We was at the Dogwood Festival here in Atlanta, and it was some guy, it was a guy that came over and was kind of like talking crazy foolishness and to our group. And we didn't do anything. I think he was just drunk, just in his zone. And so the police came over and they was moving him out the way and stuff. And so I was so nervous on both sides.
Hmm.
Like, I'm hoping that they're not coming to get us. Like, we didn't do
Right.
nothing.
Exactly.
And then I'm nervous because I'm like, okay, I hope they treat him a little, don't hurt him. Like, move him. We want him gone because he's definitely interrupting our space. But I don't want to see him hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I had so many. My anxiety was just gone crazy because I'm like, I don't know what side I need to be on right, right
Yeah, it's a lot
now.
to take in.
Right
A
now.
lot. Yeah.
So we're glad to have you back, Reverend Griffin. We're talking about grief and like different
Yes.
signs of grief. And I was just saying the different some different scenarios or situations that I had as I've been navigating my son's death. And so I was talking about, not really trusting the police. You kind of, they're good ones and there's some bad apples. And it kind of makes it hard when your loved one is killed by the police to be able
Yeah.
to have that much faith in the system, even though there's some good ones. It's you kind of scared. You kind of like in the middle here, like don't hurt me, don't hurt them type situation. So what do you think about what do you have to say about grief? And I know your grief is a little bit different. Well, all grief is grief, but your scenario is different. Let me say it like that. So so tell us the grief process that you experience with your son.
Well, I'm facing 5 years with no closure and what happened to my son, first of all. Therefore, I don't have any closure. So that makes it even harder. But as a Christian and belief in a certified spiritual counselor, a grief counselor, it helps, but it definitely doesn't, put everything to a better stand. But it's the disbelief that comes first,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
after that, you come with anger,
Yeah.
why, and all the questions, and then with that anger, depression and oppression steps in.
Yeah.
And so that's when you have to try and have some type of release and seek for some type of assistance. And I say I have a meeting weekly on Sunday evenings, a support group. And my motto is it is okay to not be okay.
It
Mm.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
When you are facing these type of atrocities, it is a lot. But at the same time, life has to go on, and most times I
Mhm.
share, we all wear different size of shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, our atrocities are different. But it's hard to get your life back to normal. As I said, I'm facing 5 years and definitely nowhere near normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the disbelief that you have to face, and the why, and it becomes a guilt too, and the blaming come in your mind, and you lose faith for sure. And so you come into this emotional
Mhm.
thought process. And that's where I say, you have to reach out for help,
Mm-hmm.
because grief can be a monster,
It can.
and
Yeah.
it sends you on a very uncomfortable sight in the mirror when
It
you're looking
does.
at
Yep.
yourself. And not only that, when you have siblings or, in the household, there is others, where the loved one may have lived, that's going to be a ricochet effect of all the family
Mm-hmm.
members on what they're facing. So that emotional release, you want to try and reach out for some type of help, Rather it's a family member, a spiritual advisor, someone, a pair of ears that you can trust.
Right,
And
right.
so that would give you some type of comfort to be able to leave those thoughts on some ears that are listening and someone that cares. And so what you want to do is release and honor what has happened and try and accept what has happened.
Mhm.
When you try and accept, that returns that love and the thoughts and the feeling of the departed person, that has departed the life. And so you want to try and just accept what has happened the best that you can and try and accommodate that with your daily life agendas. And also, it's okay when you're grieving, it's okay to cry, it's okay to get it
Mhm.
out. But what you want to do during those times when it's on you really, really hard and heavy, you want to reduce your agenda when it's on you very heavy because it's like a roller coaster ride.
It is. It
That's
is.
what I've experienced, ups and downs on a daily
It
basis.
is.
And
It
so you want to
definitely.
try and grasp that. And the days that you have heavy, heavy heart and pain over your atrocity, you want to reduce your agenda. You want to reduce your errands. You don't want to do a lot of driving because you have a lot on your mind. And I
Mhm.
have a lot of people who reach out to the organization who is dealing with so much. They're on the side of the road, they're in a parking garage,
That
they
was me.
go further.
Mhm.
That
And
was me.
so I have to try and coach them through it. And it's
Mhm.
it's a lot. And it's so much more than a mind can handle. And so you have to take care of your brain just like you take care of your heart, your kidney, whatever the organs are, you have to take care of your mental as well. And so I encourage anyone that has an atrocity of such, whether it's a victimized of homicide or just a normal death, it becomes a shocking feeling. And so that sends those radiations off in your mind. Why? What happened? Oh, no, no. And so you want to try and embrace those thoughts. And when you do that, it helps you in the long run because you'll reach out and you'll end up with some type of counseling. You'll end up
Mhm.
with a grief, podcast or something somewhere to help you along the way. Don't try and do it all on your own. There are some listening ears out there that care, and also they will give you resourceful information for you, your family, and your loved ones, and also recognize what has happened by making a memorable moment, a celebratory moment, whatever it may be, the loss. It could be a job, it could be your pet, your loved one, whatever it is. Just try and embrace it to
Mhm.
understand that it has happened and it's okay. So you have a memorable moment and a celebratory moment to help you in the anniversaries. It helps you get past it because unfortunately, the grief process does not have a certificate on it.
Right, right, right. So the next, I was just thinking because I got this question um, from this lady, and anybody can answer it. And she was like, "Well, how do you, after you lose someone, how do you move forward? One, that's like the first part, and how do you pick up your old activities without feeling like you doing something wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to celebrate my birthday, but I
Mhm.
lost my child. So I feel like if I celebrate my birthday, it's like I forgot about him and I'm moving on and I forgot about the situation. And that was one of the questions that she asked me. And so I want you guys' take on that. I know what I told her. And I'll say what I told her after you guys answer that. Because I don't know if I told her right, but I told her what I thought.
It
because I'm
takes
not a grief
time.
counselor.
Nothing's wrong. Every answer
It
right.
takes
Embrace
time.
that. You want to continue that. That's something that's going to help you try and get back to your normal life. You know, you can have that celebratory moment, as I said earlier, and also your birthday is still there. And that's something that we have to remember to care for ourselves during these times. That's very, very important that we care for ourselves. And also, you want to make a certain time and moment to celebrate the absent one.
Hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and
And
let the next person.
yeah, so what I was going to say too is um, grief is not a deadline. It continues. So definitely, I always tell people to acknowledge that the grief. Um, Self care is definitely not selfish. Um, it's okay to have moments. You're gonna have moments when you're sad, when you not feeling motivated. It takes time and day by day. And so honestly, you can also find ways to honor their memory. And just taking those little steps. Birthday, your birthday is gonna be there. Their birthday gonna come. So normally when it's around a time where you know that your loved one birthday is coming up, definitely you're gonna have some feelings that might come up. It is normal because I mean I work in a school and I remember a young girl. She had came to my office before because she remembered that her cousin was unfortunately murdered.
Mm.
She know his birthday was coming up. So she was feeling sad because she knew his birthday was coming up.
Mhm.
At the same time, unfortunately, his birthday is actually close to his unfortunate murder date.
Mm.
So you're gonna have I look at it like identification. You identify that day, and so give yourself permission to take those little steps. And take small steps. It's not expected to take big steps, especially when you are experiencing the loss and grief of a loved one. So just doing little things, whether it's I'm gonna just go outside for a little bit, to get some air, just little things like that. Um, Also, what I was saying earlier, I mentioned you might feel a little isolated initially.
Mhm.
Getting back into connecting with people or having conversations, it takes time too, especially when you're in the beginning process of grief. So, definitely, it comes with no time frame. So everybody time frame when it comes to loss and grief is different. So definitely taking care of yourself, trying to connect a little bit with the interest of something you love to do or exploring it. And so that comes with time.
Okay, so if I'm a family member and I just lost somebody, how am I supposed to balance out my mental health, justice, and advocacy all together? Because we know that that's all three of those are very important. You can't advocate somebody if your mental health is really not where it needs to be. It makes it a little bit harder for you. So what are some things that you guys have done, or some tools that you know of that can help for someone that lost someone, that is advocating for their loved one, and balancing out that mental health piece?
I would just say for myself and my family, it was we had to kind of have a good domination in roleage. Like my sister, she was the most broken, and so navigating and fighting her being frontline wasn't what she could do at that moment. So it's kind of looking at the real close circle that you have and appointing and delegating roles, if you will. And it's kind of like I don't think I've ever grieved for him because I've had to stay so busy in organizing and keeping things going. And I guess I would just say for like a memory thing that has worked for us over the last 7 years is we buy these biodegradable lanterns that you can write on, and we put messages on there, and we write on the biodegradable paper that dissolves in the water. And so when his youngest daughter, who has never met him, but she has a strong connection to his soul, when she wants to write him letters or talk to him, that's what we do. And so we create healthy ways to get things out. And even if you write angry things or things that you just are so frustrated about, it dissolves, and you can kind of try to dissipate a little bit of that stress and that weight with the message as it goes.
Okay. So I got another good question. How do you prevent advocacy from becoming your entire identity? And this is the good one for me because Jalen was my only biological child. So my husband has 2 kids, and my estranged husband, for all y'all men out there who being inbox, being nosy. Anyway, he has two children that were very close to Jalen. And what I found myself doing is that I don't get any sleep. And I'm sure a lot of people watching who know me know I don't sleep. Like I am always up, always working. And I do feel like sometimes the advocacy part, I push so hard for not just Jalen, but for everybody else as well, that it is my life. It's my entire life. Like I don't know anything else. Like if I'm going out of town, it's usually for something, I'm not going for pleasure. I don't know how to have a personal life anymore because this has consumed so much of my life. It's become my identity. And I enjoy it though. So it's not like I don't like it, but I do know that for me to be able to have a personal life with anybody, whether or not it's my mom or my brother, my niece and nephew, that at some point I have to figure out that balance, like what that looks like, to when it's time to cut it off and go have a normal life for 5 minutes, and then I can come back because it's not going anywhere. I got that pretty down, that's down in my head, that I know that it's not going anywhere. It's not going to stop. We're going to always be advocating for someone at some point. So for families who don't know how to balance that, what are some tips on how to balance advocacy so it doesn't overwhelm, it doesn't take over your entire identity?
So what I would say is definitely, of course, you want to honor your loved one, definitely. Um, Also, too, trying to balance is like giving yourself permission to take those little steps to really connect with yourself, and also too being able to still being able to be a part of that change when it comes to advocacy. So just thinking about you, because identity, that's a thing. Like when you go through loss and grief or experience that, you can get caught up in everything else, but
Mm-hmm.
then you don't connect with you, or you find a hard time with definitely um, connecting with the things that you were doing. You might have put some on hold, and because the loss and grief happened, it shifted. So
Mm.
definitely give yourself permission to do little things for yourself. Living fully does not mean that you forgot about that loved one.
Right,
You
right.
can experience grief, you can also experience joy at the same time. Even though it might be hard initially, it's a process in itself. Definitely you could do both. So I would say creating boundaries. It's okay to say no to things. And I know I meet with different individuals in therapy, and they have a hard time saying no to certain things. They take on so much that they forgot what balance looks like, because
Mm-hmm.
everything is being thrown on them and on top
Mm-hmm.
of layers. So definitely trying to make that space for yourself, but still also um, definitely, because advocacy honestly could be a part of your passion.
Mm-hmm. I
Definitely.
think that I honestly think that's because I have a degree in criminal justice. I feel like
Uh-huh.
I'm in a little slick therapy session, but I have a degree in criminal justice, so I do have a passion for it. Didn't really realize that I really had a passion for it. So a lot of times when people are asking me like, you stay doing something, I'm like, it's actually my therapy. It's become a peaceful way for me to like balance out my brain, like from over process or overdoing something or overthinking or becoming depressed. It actually makes me happy. But I haven't got to the point yet. I mean, 4 years is a long time, but it's still early, in the game for a lot of families. And I still haven't got to the point where I can set those boundaries to say, hey, I'm only going to do this for 4 hours today,
Mhm.
or I'm only going to do this for 6 hours today, or I'm only going to do this on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that I can do this on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, because I actually enjoy what I do. I enjoy creating stuff, and it don't matter what I'm creating, whether or not I'm creating a centerpiece. As long as I'm creating something, I'm in my place of peace. But for me, I tell people, and I'm gonna say this, y'all can get me later because I say some real crazy stuff, and I hope my mama not listening. But I say some real crazy stuff, and my aunt just passed, and this lady walked up to me. She was like, "Oh, the centerpieces are so beautiful," and I was like, "Yeah." That I said, "Thank you so much," and I was like, "Well, I'm in the business of dead people," and she looked at me like, "What the hell this lady just say?" And so I had to explain to her that I have become so comfortable with death. You know what I'm saying? Because I deal with it so often, hearing different stories, creating different things, that it doesn't scare me like it did before. So when my father passed, I couldn't deal with death. But after jailing and having to advocate and learning all this different stuff, I'm more comfortable with it. So when I explained it to her, I know she probably went home and told people that I'm weird, but it's like I'm I'm okay. I'm okay with hearing the story. I'm okay with trying to help get justice. I'm okay with what it looks like because I'm at a place where I'm comfortable with it. It doesn't scare me anymore. Because it did. It used to scare me. Like I wouldn't even go to funerals. I wouldn't do anything dealing with death after
Mhm.
my father passed. I never got to the point where I actually probably really grieved and understood death because I was a child. So he passed at 8. And so I just couldn't deal with it. And now it's like, okay, well, what we creating today, y'all, like, yeah,
Mhm.
that may be a little crazy moment, but I'm on here with the Creek folks. So yeah, y'all can probably talk to me later.
Ashley was
Oh
all
my
right.
goodness,
She never stopped.
that was really a mental health moment. That just
Yes.
shows that we be having moments all day long. Like when you're impacted family, you really know when you. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. What are some of the triggers? Because what I remember doing for me, and I'm sorry, I'll tell y'all some more stories later. But I remember writing down what triggered me, because I never knew what my triggers were. So it was like I could be riding down the street and then I just have a whole anxiety attack. And I remember somebody telling me saying, "Hey, every time you have a trigger like that, write it down." And so when it be you, so you'll know before it hits you, so you can create those boundaries to kind of stop it from getting to a certain point. What do you guys think about that?
Well, if you will, you always want to know those boundaries. You want to know what happens to make those buttons really set you off. And that's something that I share with Weekly as well. If someone around you says something negative, you're having a bad day, you're having a moment. So you want to try and embrace that with something positive, or don't respond to it because you know that's going to set you off.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mhm.
had to learn, my low and my high. I had to learn that because in the spaces that you're in, people don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what your thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what you're going through. And so they might just, in the clear blue sky, just say something against an advocacy or
Mm-hmm.
against,
Mm-hmm.
you have an organization. It could be from A to Z, but
Mm-hmm.
you do not want to respond to that. You
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to keep yourself in a calm mode to where you are not responding to that in a negative way. You want to try and stay positive. You know you're having a bad day, and so you want to try and keep yourself to a mode to where you just don't explode.
Right.
And
Right.
a lot of time it's not easy. I've
Mm-hmm.
had to hibernate myself. I've had to make choices, to leave out of a room or leave a location or leave
Mm-hmm.
an
Me too.
event because, there that situation or something that was said, those words are hurtful and they could send you out of your character.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
as you're going through a very serious atrocity or whatever you're going through, that can give you more anger and more power that you don't know you even have. And
Mm-hmm.
you respond and you have yourself in a whirl of something that you have no clue how you got in there. And you sure don't know how to get out of the spider webs. And so, what you want to do is everything that you hear, you want to keep a positive set on it because you already know what is going to set you off.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you want to make sure that that's not allowed in your space. And some people, they will say, yeah, there she go. She thinks she has it. She has organization now. She speaks for everybody and everything, blase, blase. But
Mm-hmm.
no, you don't want to respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time you can ignore it, but it can rise. And then you have to remove yourself. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So with you saying that, how could a family member support a family member, a friend? They may not have lost a loved one, so they don't understand the journey, right? They don't understand
Mm-hmm.
the grief process when it comes to that because they may not have lost someone. So what are some tools or some exercises that people can do to support other loved ones or their loved ones who have experience this type of trauma? Because I know a lot of people just don't know. So like I have some friends that I was really really close with before Jalen passed, and that's because we all was just living this normal life. And then Jalen passed, and now I'm like we distant. And I remember saying, well, why is my cousin not talking to me, or why she hasn't said anything about Jalen? And I've realized with dealing with so many people now, is just people just don't know what to say. They just don't know what to do. And it's because they haven't had to walk that journey. So what are some tools or some like I say, exercises or words that someone can say to a loved one that has went through this? And that could kind of help bridge that gap and that distance that was there that was not there before.
One of the things I just met with someone yesterday who went through a loss and grief, and one of the things that was lacking that she did not get was someone to check on her.
Mm.
Even if you did not experience a loss and grief personally, it is very important that you take the time to check on that person to really validate their feelings because loss and grief is hard as it is. And I understand that everybody's not in the same circumstance or situation. So, I mean, that's very important because then they know that you are a support. You're there for them. And so we need all, when it comes to loss and grief, um, we need all the support. We don't need people to be distant or disconnected. Definitely check on people. And so that's what I would say because I heard that yesterday. And also, that's a big issue when we might assume that they're okay. But you
Right.
don't know if they're okay if you don't take the time to check on them. You
Right.
don't know if they're depressed, sad, or anything. It just takes, well, I mean, I know we in technology, it just takes that time out of your schedule to even make a phone call. because unfortunately, we've had people that have encountered different things in life, loss and grief, and because we're so wrapped up in ourselves, our circumstances, we forget to take that time to do that. And so that's very important to do, and I can't even stress that enough. And so definitely, that's a tool. You can't say, oh, and this is another thing. You cannot compare. Like I've heard this because I went through loss and grief. I heard this. Oh, because when you lose, I mean, your love, like in your case, son, lost my father, and so when I lost my dad, and you're going through grief. Grief is normal. You're gonna feel sad. You might say things not intentionally, but because you need to have that space to express yourself. And so it just comes out naturally. And definitely, one of the things I heard, oh, um, I know what loss and grief is like. But while you're doing that, while you're sad, I lost my cousin. Loss is grief is grief. But respectfully, and I'm gonna be honest, you cannot compare the loss of whether it's your son, your daughter, your parent equally to someone's situation and loss,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what. So you can't assume what somebody's grief look like. You can't assume that you're supposed to go in normal as nothing happened because you're disrespecting that person and their feelings.
So I got a question. So we're gonna kind of jump to the social media piece, but this is a grief question dealing with social media. I know a lot of times the narratives that are put out on people may or may not be correct. You know, the first narrative that a lot of times I know in police violence cases they coming from what the police say, and it may not always be true. But how is an impacted family supposed to navigate grief when dealing with narratives and social media? Because I remember when Jalen first was killed, oh, they dogged me out. They may like me now a little bit, but when I first got on the scene, oh, I was dogged out. Oh, she a ghetto mama, or what's the things, he come from a single parent household. He didn't have no men in his life. And I'm like, he had a stepdad and he got a dad. He got a granddad. No. And it's like you wanna respond so bad to the comments. And then it's like other comments like, well, he got what he deserved, or what is the saying they say, something about silly rabbit and some games or something that they say. It's another horrible saying that you play silly games, you get silly
Still
prizes
prizes.
or something like that. And so I heard that it was all these different things. I even heard there was a lady that did a podcast on YouTube. She dogged Jalen out. And then we were all jumping in, like commenting on the YouTube podcast. And she ended up coming back and apologizing. But I'm talking about we went down. We gave her the business, and all of us did. I know I did. My brother did. His brothers did. Like we was giving everybody the business because it was like y'all putting out all this foolishness, and it really affects with your mental health when you're reading the comments and this person for something else, and they're building their own opinion based on the narrative that was put out. So what are some suggestions on how to deal with that, like how to control that? What are the boundaries that need to take? When do you leave social media to take a break? What are maybe some legal things that someone could do? Maybe a cease and desist letter, like different things. Y'all help me out.
I know that it's important. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
No,
No,
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
good. You good.
I just think it's important to not allow yourself to get caught up in the oppression Olympics or the who's can
Yeah,
diss who more. They don't know our loved ones. They don't know
that's
the
right.
plight that they went through. They don't know anything but for the false propaganda that leads the investigation.
Exactly.
And so it's important to not even read it, to not care, because they are nobody. And the people that you need to prove your case for is why you're organizing your facts and collecting your documentation, because it's the courts. That's who you need to prove your cases to. And when it comes your time, even if the news reporters never pick up your story, or you can't find one of them to be an honest, good, moral human being and to represent you and the family in a truthful way, you get on social media and you use that as your outlet. You become the reporter. You tell the truths and the facts about your loved ones, and you make sure that at every opportunity that you get to speak, it's respectful, it's calm, because they expect us to be all wild and wound up and
They do.
in
Yeah.
a way that they can dismiss us.
Mhm.
You keep it cool, you keep it calm, you keep it cute, and you keep it respectful in the name of your loved one. And at every time you feel yourself elevating, because I work with the police on a multitude of levels, and it's when my anxiety sets in that I remind myself that through Christ Jesus I can do all things, and he will continue to strengthen me. And I just keep re-saying it in my head and keep replaying whatever phrase for you works that gets you grounded, that recenters you, and that keeps you in that moment of what your purpose will be best suited to give your energy to.
So, Nikki, I got one more question for you then. And this is because I know you know a lot about the media. How should families respond when inaccurate information is being shared publicly?
You write an op-ed as soon as you see it. Get your op-ed into the editor, send it to the reporter that
So,
wrote
what's
the
the
story.
op-ed? Let
An
everyone know.
op-ed is a counterpiece to the story that is giving the false information. It is correcting the narrative. And when you provide an op-ed and they fail to correct, that is when you step into the next level of showing them that you are not above reproach, and you file complaints. And then you document facts in your complaint. And then they have to do a redaction story, and they have to stand on business when they've been fact checked. It's all about staying calm and collective in the most uncalm, uncollective waters you will ever swim in.
So, what would you say to a family who is trying to build a relationship with a journalist or news to keep them abreast of what's going on? What does that process look like?
I would say for us, in my brother's case, we had like 6 news outlets giving the business from the police's perspective, and one OPB that was willing to actually sit down, hear both sides, and make factual, common sense reports. Things that are of facts, not of speculations or hearsays or poor choices stretched out past 20 years. It's important to find people who are about good journalism, and not good or bad, but honest, transparent, truthful, accountable, that want to do their job for the good of both sides and for the good of what the community should know, instead of giving a bolstered side from the police officers without ever doing their their due diligence to check and fact check and even talk to the families. Because a lot of times the families are set aside while the story and the narratives build up and things get going.
So, what would a respectful partnership between an impacted family and a news outlet or any type of media? Because you got podcasters, you got so you got media on the internet, you got print media, you got TV media, you got all type of media. So if I'm trying to build a partnership with one of these people, what should a partnership look like? Like what should be those expectations? What should be those red flags that people should kind of pay attention to when trying to build a partnership with media?
Well, I'll just say, and then I'll let some of the other ladies talk. It's important to have a reporter on your side that's about facts. And sometimes even when the facts aren't comfortable to us, they're facts, and they are nothing but that, that they don't lead with falsities, that they make sure that they fact check before they put out their reports, that they're courteous enough to let you know if there's going to be something that seems like it may be hurtful. Just a little tidbit. We got this information. It's kind of looking like it's factual. Could we get, your opinion or what you may know about it? It's important to just have that balance of when good reporting feels, wholesome and like they've done what they say they're going to do. Dig in, get the facts, and report the facts, not flabbergated one-sidedness of whomever they feel they should lean more towards, because it's usually never the family. It's usually always the falsified narrative from law enforcement, or in other cases, the domestic violence. It's usually one side or the other, the aggressor or non-aggressor, but there's facts and there's things that happen in every situation that have to be weighed out before we can start making, educated articles that give a whole bunch of bad things about people and never saying the good. They really good at highlighting poor choices and not the good accolades of individuals.
I think for us, we really had some pretty good media folks. Because the media can actually help your case, you guys. So a lot of times when media do spin out these narratives, it's because they got it from somewhere. They're not just making it up and just throwing it out there. So when you have those type of situations, you can go to the media and you can give them, like you said, you can give them the information for them to change it and put out the right story. Because the thing is, they want a story, so they want to know what you got to say about what happened. They want the right information. And when you have a hard time getting information, it's a good time to reach out to the media too. So like when we didn't know who the officers was or none of that, we used the media to get us all the information we weren't able to get. They didn't give us everything, but they were able to help us start the process of our own investigation, that we did, because they were able to say, hey, well, we're going to do a open records request and get this. When you have a loved one that's killed in another state, there's issues with obtaining a lot of documents because you're not a citizen of that county, of that state. And so that's what we ran into with Jalen, is because we didn't live in Memphis. He didn't live in Memphis. They felt like they couldn't give us anything. So you either have to find people in that area that can do those open records requests, or you reach out to the media and say, hey, we haven't got this, we haven't got the autopsy, we haven't got the body camera footage, we don't know who the officers are. And a lot of times they will do a lot of the picking and pushing so that you can get that information. So media all the time is not that bad. They can actually help you if you know what to ask for. And that goes into knowing what you need to start the process and what you're not getting. Okay, so we're going to wrap that up. And then we're getting ready to talk about preserving. We're going to go back to the beginning and we're going to talk about the preserving evidence part, because we didn't touch on that. And so, I just want to know, when it comes to evidence, and we talked about it a little bit, but we wasn't online for anybody to hear. When we're preserving evidence, what are different ways to preserve evidence? What is evidence considered? Anybody?
Always keep records. I keep email yourself, like we've talked about. Make sure you keep every piece of documentation. Timelines, organize it, all digital communication. Everything.
Body camera footage.
Yeah, everything.
So we're talking about autopsies. We're talking about medical. We're talking about hospital records. We're talking about dispatch logs. We're talking about, let's see, what else?
Any pictures?
Pictures, yes. Articles online, you
EMTs.
guys. News reports that you news reports. Anything in a paper news report could work. Like it's pictures.
Witness log.
Using social media, like it may be on a LinkedIn, LinkedIn story. I mean, not LinkedIn story, a Twitter story or X or whatever it's called now. I found Jalen on there. You can also go to a lot of the police departments' social media pages. They put a lot of that stuff on there as well. If it's a police involved situation, check the Bureau of Investigation. So for Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Witnesses. Let's see what else. We said police reports, incidents reports,
emails. Catalogs,
email. Yep. So
evidence,
those are
property.
all different things that you can use.
Third
Also,
party records,
what?
Yep.
like third party records.
Third party records. Yep.
Mhm.
So if your loved one's name on it, that's evidence. So that's gonna make it a lot easier for everybody to understand. If you Google your loved one's name, whatever you find, save it.
Hmm.
If you see their name on anything, save it. That's all evidence. Some you may need, some you may never use. But it's better to have everything than not have enough.
That's right.
Hmm.
So preserving evidence is very, very, very important. So there's nothing too small, there's nothing too big. Get as much as you can, capture it. We also, like we said, email it to yourself, put it on a flash drive, keep it in a safe place. If something happens to you, make sure that a loved one that you really, really
Yeah.
trust knows where that flash drive is so that they'll have the documents that's needed for your loved one's case. Um, let's see what else. Text messages, emails, telephone calls. Pay attention to your social media. A lot of times, y'all, it the person who is hiding their crime of what they did will always follow you on social media
Yeah.
somewhere. They coming to check on you. I promise. So pay attention to who you befriend. Pay attention to your followers
Hmm.
because they're checking. They're checking to see what you say. And it could be good or bad because you could be saying something that could be harming your case. You could be saying something that needs to go out there. A lot of times when you're in litigation, you guys, you have to be very careful about what you put out in public. So a lot of times I had some news people will come back and be like, hey, is there anything new going on with Jalen's case? As bad as I want to tell them some new stuff, I can't because
Hmm.
it can hurt my case. So what I tell them is the only thing I have is what's already out on, so whatever is out already out in the public. If it's out in the public already, that's free game. You can use that, you can have it. But I won't tell you anything new because it may hurt my son's case, or you may spin it in another direction, or I'm not an experienced attorney or experiencing a lot of legal things. So I may say something wrong and then it you take it totally from what I said and just go all the way left. Like it's happened plenty of times where you think you saying something good and then it come back and it's not that great because it was interpreted different than what you thought you was saying it. So it wasn't received the way you wanted it to be received. So you have to be very careful with that as well when you're
I'll
trying to
tell you
preserve.
something else I've picked up on is if your case is on the media, always read the comments because you can get a lot of information from reading people's comments.
So true.
You can pick up if you just read between the lines. That's how I've learned a lot of information.
And it's crazy that you said that because it was a case that I was looking at and it was a police violence case. And the people were commenting saying how the person was a racist or
Mhm.
how they had those different experiences with that police officer. Those are some other things that you can capture. Like
Yeah,
take a
that's
screenshot that
right.
stuff and keep it because if you're
Yes.
building a case, you have to show where this person is doing something wrong and show, especially if you're trying to sue the city, you have to show
Mhm.
where it's a constant behavior,
Mhm.
where it's a learned behavior, where
Pattern of
it's a
practice.
huh
Pattern of practice.
a pattern of
Hmm.
practice. Exactly. So those things are really important when you're looking at things and you can say, hey, look, this officer did this to this person. I see this officer did this in another case with another person.
Mhm.
So now you can't come to me and say, oh no, they so good. They they got police officer of the year and all that. Because you know what they do? The police union is there to protect them. So what they'll do is they'll
Hmm.
cover up a lot of behavior issues and they won't give it to you. But if you can find some witnesses or some victims that have experienced that, then you already building up information for your case right there without even doing a lot of work.
You want to put in public records requests once you know the officers' names for past actions and behaviors as well, because it could help show patterns and practices for the instant that involves your loved one.
Also, your personnel reports.
Yes.
A lot of times with officers, a lot of them are failing a lot of these tests, and we don't know it, and they're still getting their badges. So
Mhm.
they may not pass the exam, the shooting exam, but they out there with a gun, and now they done shot
Mhm.
somebody.
And make sure that you know what you're allowed to get, because they will withhold records like your
Oh, that, yeah.
personal, when you're getting their personnel reports. Look at the laws and make sure you know what you're able to get, because I know for a fact they've withheld personnel records, write-ups and things that they'll do it.
It does. It happen all the time. And another
Mhm.
thing that we found out too is not only do they hold the certain records, is
Mhm.
that you can if you get an attorney. Oh no, let me go back. Let me go back first. I'm gonna say this first before I forget it, because I'll be forgetting stuff, y'all. What
Mhm.
they'll say is when you first try to get information, you first do a records request or FOIA Act or any of that,
Mhm.
is that they may say it's under investigation and they're not going to give it to you.
Exactly.
They say
Yep.
that a lot. That's one of the first
Yes,
things that we had is, no, we can't give it to you. It's under investigation. No, we can't give it to you when the investigation had closed and y'all still wasn't giving us nothing.
that's right.
That's a way of cover up.
It's a way,
That's
exactly.
exactly right.
Hmm.
So it is not like it just happens in one case. We hear this happening all the time. The whole
Mhm.
transparency is not being held with the police forces, because that is the more time they can borrow to keep the information, they're redacting a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
They're hiding
Mhm.
a lot of stuff. I'm not saying it's in every case, but that's a red flag when you
Mhm.
know that you're supposed to be able to get a certain document and you're not getting
Mhm.
it. So put that in your red, on that side, that red flag, that something may be up with this, and really look into it. I'm not saying this for all cases, but it's definitely something to pay attention to, because it is a norm,
It sure
unfortunately.
is.
Hmm.
It is a norm.
Well,
It is a norm. Okay. So we talked about how to preserve, what is evidence, how to preserve evidence. We also talked about grief. We talked about social media and different narratives. Let me see, what else are we missing tonight? Because I'm trying to get y'all up out of here. I know I owe everybody lunch for real. Let's see. What is a so I want to talk about honoring a loved one. What are some healthy ways of honoring a loved one? I know with me, so like I do celebrate my birthday now. It did take me a minute to celebrate my birthday. What I do is I bring Jalen with me on my birthday. So one, I have this bear that I got from Build a Bear, and this is for anybody that want to hear their loved one's voice.
hmm.
Oh,
So he used to do music, and I would press the button on there, and it plays back "I Love You, Mama." And so that's a way, I think, a healthy way of remembering your loved one, and keeping them alive, keeping them close to you. It got so bad, y'all. He was in the car with me. Like, he rides in the car with me on the front seat, because like that's where he used to be at anyway. So like when I had to take him to work. And so he'll just be sitting there. And I know people, if I'm parked at a grocery store, they probably like, why is this red bear sitting in the front seat like it's a person? But that is my way of being able to
yeah.
handle some business and being able to cope, because I was so used to Jalen always going to the store with me. It was like he was missing. So now I don't feel like he's totally gone. So what are some healthy ways that people can remember their loved ones to help them move forward?
One thing is a memory box.
A memory
Keeping,
box,
yeah,
yes.
keeping different things that a person is interested in, their
Yes.
likes, their how something. of hobbies related that that person, that loved one was a part of. Also, too, journaling,
Yes,
writing,
that's a good one.
writing. I talk about this, and when with my clients too, is writing a letter as if the person is present, although we know unfortunately they have passed on, is a way to honor their memory and legacy. And so, writing that letter to them, expressing your thoughts and feelings as if they're present. Um, that person is, even though unfortunately they had passed on, that person is always with you. I had a client, a young boy, he lost his mom. He told me that he, around the mom's birthday, around the holidays that come up, he has a picture of his mom. And his mom, he had put it right on the dinner table as if she's
And
present.
she's there, yeah.
And yes, so that's another way to healthy way to still honor, their memory.
Okay. So I forgot to mention this. I'm just kind of going through my notes. Ways when you're organizing evidence, y'all, from the beginning, make sure that you do the date, the category, the source. So the source is where you pull the information from. That's really, really important. You want to make sure that you have, it's just like if you're in college, you got to have a credible source. So pulling the information from the source and documenting that, doing a timeline. We also talked about the digital folder, which is your emails and things like that, the flash drive, and then a physical binder as well. So I wanted to make sure I didn't forget that because source is really important. It's just like if you have a witness and they ain't credible, it ain't gonna help you. It's not gonna help you. Let me say that correctly. So so the source is important on where you pull the information from. Document everything. The website is your source. So where you pull that information from. Anybody got something to say on that one?
I think you can use that template in just about everything from the
Every
medical examiner to the property tracker to the photos, autopsy review worksheets. It's important to have where the source came from, what questions, follow-ups, all of that stuff.
Now this is a question too. So how do when you have a witness, right? You have a, and this can be used in any scenario. You have a witness. How do you document that witness? Like, do you get their name? Does it the statement? Does it have to be notarized, or what does that look like if you do have a witness?
Well, for us at RJPMC, we get the name, the address, the phone number, relationship to the case, which one of us interviewed with them, the statement received, is that digital? Is it it's usually at the person's discretion. Do they want to be recorded? Where you do a physical recording, do they want to write out a notarized statement? It's at their comfort level. And then the follow-ups needed.
Okay. Now, for the ones that don't know what a FOIA Act is and a public request is, like, what's the difference between those? Is there a difference in it? Anybody? Nobody?
You want to know the difference between the two?
Yeah. So, like, because we mentioned the FOIA Act and we mentioned the open records request, and then we mentioned the a public request. For someone that's new that don't really know what that is, what is it, and how do you go about getting it or doing it?
A public records request is something that you request upon each state or whatever state you're in, county, city, wherever you are. This is a request on whomever the deceased is. You're trying to get any information that they have with the state where they filed all of the documentation for that person. That is an open record request. You can file that with the state that you're in. A lot of people don't know to do that, Ashley. And as far as the act, that's totally different. That's something that helps protect and to help you get it. That's something totally different. But
Okay.
the open record request is something very important, especially if it's a agency involved, a law enforcement agency involved. It's something you want to get in your hands as quick as possible. Therefore, there's no annotations on any of the records. And so that's something that's coming from the state.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What else? Is there anything we're missing? What are some common mistakes that families should avoid when they're dealing with trying to build their case?
Say that again.
What are some common mistakes that people should avoid?
There are some common things that I always share with people that are new victims, especially with their story. You have to be very particular on who you sharing your story with and how much information you're giving to them. You don't want to pour out A to Z to anyone because that's not your legal team, or if it's the media or whoever it is that you want to use to try and get some attention with your story. It's okay to give them some information, enough, but not all the information, because therefore it could be something that could hurt your case. You don't want to publicize every single corner of your case, of your story, but you definitely want to give the important sites about the story as far as what happened, and when it happened. And you don't want to become immediate friends with a new person asking you for these things. I was a victim of that. And I had to learn, I was brand new, and 5 years ago on, being in Austin or being in DC, and people they intentionally do these things, to get information from you. And, sometimes they may even send up a story and they will say they are you, with your story. And, they're trying to get some type of funding, grants, or whatever it may be. But I had to learn this the hard way. So you don't want to balance your whole story on anyone. You want to keep certain portions of it out of the public. Therefore, they don't have everything, and they definitely don't know anything. Why? For what? They're not your attorney. They're not going to
Exactly.
with it. And so you want to try and keep it more private as possible. You give certain parts and certain pieces, but everything, no, it doesn't. It hurts you more to give everything. And also you be taken advantage of out there, and your name will be places you have no clue. I landed at the DOJ to speak with them, and they had information with my name.
Mm.
And I was disturbed by that. But so, like I said, we have to live and learn. And so right now I'm able to share with someone else the things that I went through and some of the hurtful things that, deter me, during my process. So I'm able to help the next person.
Awesome.
Always make sure make sure everything's verified. Do you see what, like, it's not unverified information that's putting out there.
Awesome.
And also be careful not to answer questions or feel like you under pressure, because you might not say the right thing when you're under
That's
pressure.
right. That's
You got to
right.
take a moment to really take it all in and really gather the information versus just jumping out there. Because it's normal to feel grief and we get frustrated. We got to be careful of how we respond
Yeah,
by jumping the gun.
right.
It's okay to let them know that you need a moment and you'll get back to them.
Hmm.
And if they really want your story, they'll wait respectfully.
That's right.
I would probably say um, patience. A
Hmm.
lot of times we rush in the process, and that could be really bad because they're gonna give you what they want to give you anyway, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So having a little grace, knowing that it's a process, not over expecting anything from anyone. I think those would help a lot with the mental health piece as you're trying to get justice, because some people have been fighting this for like 10 years. You got some
Mhm.
people that just got in the game and they got justice in a year. You got some people it may take 6 years. It's just different based on the county, the jurisdiction, the situation, the media attention,
The
the
cover up.
scenario,
Hmm.
the narrative around it. It's a
Yeah.
whole lot of different pieces on why your case may not be moving as fast as you want. So having a little patience and understanding that just keep going, and that justice will look different from everybody. When I first came in, y'all, justice looked the same for me. I was like, I want everybody to go to jail. And then I was pushing that on so many people. They looking at me like I ain't really, I don't really care about all that. So for me,
Mhm.
for Jalen, justice looks like I would want the officers to be locked up, but for everybody, it don't look like that for everybody. So being careful to not push what justice look like to you on somebody else, because that could really shut people down, and it plays a whole mental piece on it. And I didn't even really know I was doing that when I first came in, because I in my mind, justice mean you do something bad, you go to jail. You
Hmm.
do something bad, you go to jail. It just was no way. It was nothing else around that, and everybody doesn't want that. Some people are at peace as long as the person who murdered their child told them sorry, or have changed their life to Christ. Like, there's people have different expectations on what justice look like for them, and it's okay. It's okay. So I would say have a little patience and have a little grace, and respect people for the boundaries that they have and what justice may look like to them. That's what I would say.
Hmm.
All right. So if anybody got any one last message that they want to leave, anybody, you can drop whatever gem you want to drop. It don't matter what it is. If you have anything else you want to leave tonight with a family that we haven't talked about, or that we have, and you just want to mention it again to make sure everybody heard it.
Um, I got back in on the live late.
That's
I don't know if
okay.
y'all ever. I thought we were still back in the other place, but anyway, I don't know if y'all ever finished about the organs. If
Oh
y'all,
no, we didn't drop back into the organ. So yeah, you can help us with that one.
well, I somehow we just need to make the world aware of what's going on with that, because that's a very deep, deep, deep subject, deep situation, and it's a huge problem right now in Georgia.
Hmm.
Do you guys use the Colin Kaepernick second chance autopsy program?
I was so mad at them, Nikita. I'm
Yes.
gonna be honest. I was mad at them because so what people have to understand about that is you can't be buried.
No, you have 3 days. And
Hmm.
what
You
that's why it's important for the
it
resource to be
yes.
understood to families
Yes.
now. You have to
Yes.
understand it now, because if
That's
they
right.
embalm them, if they bury them, if
Yep.
they do any
Mhm.
of those things,
Right.
it takes away the opportunity for facts sometimes
Yep.
to be presented in a way that shows the most egregious, hideous things that
Mhm.
should never
That's
be
right.
tried to be covered up. But it's important for people to know about that program, because what that young man has done is
It's
afford
amazing. Yeah.
families a chance to refute a system that is so large and so well
Yep.
funded
Yep.
and so big. And sometimes when you're going against systems as big as the entities that we have to fight when the police murder our loved ones, you feel defeated from the start. You feel elated. You know, you don't have that get up and go because it's so daunting and they put so much on you. But it's important to build that system. And like you said, baby, never stop, never quit.
That's right.
So
Even when
say the organization
hurts,
again,
sometimes
because
you
I'm
got to
sure.
tag a friend, you got to tag a sister, a brother, a family member. You got to take a break. You got to
So what's
Yeah,
the
what is-
organization again?
the
Nakia?
Colin
So
Kaepernick Second Chance.
and what do they do so that
It's the
everybody?
Colin Kaepernick Second Chance Autopsy. Yes, they
So-
provide a second autopsy for families for free
Yes.
that question the way in which their loved ones were murdered. But it is
Yes.
imperative that you do not let the organization holding your loved one's body embalm them or put them in the ground or cremate them in a hasty fashion because
That's
you
right.
just want to be over with things, or you just want to find that semblance of putting them to rest. Sometimes the most sacred things lie in them, and so it's important to try to get to that program, and they will help you if you can get
They
to them in
will.
the time.
Yep.
You only have 3 days though.
Yep. So what happened with us? When I found out about the program, you guys, it's an amazing program. Like you said, you have to go in early. I'm talking about y'all. I blew them up so many times. I didn't even try to pay that. I was. I did a second autopsy for my son. But yes, so we had already we had already embalmed Jalen. We had already buried Jalen by the time we had heard about the organization. So it was too late and we couldn't do it. But I do want to say though, even though you may have embalmed, even though you may have buried, you still have your pictures. You can get a forensic photographer or to look at the pictures. They can look at the pictures. Now, is it as good as actually having the body? Of course, the body would be the first preference. But if you're like me and you didn't get that chance, that wasn't one of your options. You can get somebody a second opinion and look at those pictures and see if there's something different or something that's a red flag in those pictures. Unfortunately, we still don't have Jalen pictures after 4 years. So again, it is a process. It's all about being patient. Don't mean we're not gonna get them, because we're gonna get them. It's just that, it may be something on there that they trying to hide. It could be some things that's going on cover up wise on why we don't have it. So that is another option for those who have missed out on the opportunity. But yes, if you have something if it's a police involved shooting, please reach out to that organization and try to get that second autopsy. I'm talking about I emailed them 2, 3, 4 times. I think I had known everybody by their name. I think they knew who I was by name, because they're like, hey, this crazy lady keep asking me about her child. And I told her no like 3, 4 times, and she keep trying to spin it a different way. We can't touch them, lady,
Yeah, well, they help with prison deaths.
If it's from my understanding, if it's police involved, they will help.
Okay.
They will help if it's police involved. Yep.
But with prison deaths, it's important the way that they move inside the jail and how they put so much red tape around you getting just to the facts before they decide what's going to happen to their body. And it's a lot. So it's imperative that you stay on their heads from the time that the incident happens. You have to pick that most clearest minded person that you can trust to take the reins in the beginning and start getting things moving if you can't. And for some of us who have that inherent, like me and Ashley, I hear you don't sleep much either. It's important to just try to utilize your seconds and your hours to just organize and rest as much as you can, because the days are long, but they're much needed.
It is. Yeah. So starting out early is the best thing you can do. Starting out early. like you said, if you can't personally do what you guys, find somebody that
That's
can,
right.
that
Mhm.
can mentally take on that task till you can get into that space. Because every day, every second, every minute is so imperative in a homicide case. It doesn't matter if it's domestic violence, it doesn't matter if it's community
Mhm.
violence. Every minute is imperative. It's just like when you look at the first 48 and they're trying to catch somebody in the first 48 hours, they say after that it goes down. It's the same thing with the homicide case when you're on the other side. Every minute, every
Mhm.
second, every evidence, every fingerprint, every blood splatter, every weapon, a telephone, a ticket, everything is important. So the earlier you start, the more evidence you're able to get. The longer it takes,
That's
you
right.
start losing the evidence. You start losing the evidence, then it's harder to try to win your case.
They start losing the evidence for you
They
Mm.
start remove, yeah. Yeah, they
conveniently.
start that as soon as the body outside.
That's
I
right.
know as soon as the body laid out, they already in their mind. They know
Yep.
what they finna do.
Yep.
It's crazy because, like you said, how they were saying that most majority of incarceration deaths are suicide.
That's they sure do.
That's crazy. But I want to thank you guys so much. But before we leave, I want you guys to say your name. I want you to say your organization because we know they missed what you do when we wasn't recording. Due to me not having anything, me don't know how to work no technology. So so do a brief introduction, who you are, what you do, and how people can find you, because people need help, people need resources, and that's the whole deal, is to get them in the right hands for whatever resource they may need. So Kimberly, you look like you at the top of my screen. You can go first.
Okay. All right. So I'm Kimberly Ward, licensed in 7 states, clinical social worker, including DC, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, New York, and New Jersey. Working to expand more in other states. Um, so I do work in the school full time as a social worker, and also I do Kim Cares Wellness Services LLC, virtual therapy, clinical supervision, as well as also some distant Reiki services. So that's about me. And definitely also, as of March of this year, got Advocacy and Action Award for Social Work Month. Definitely. So,
Nice.
yep, that is all about me. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay,
Yes.
Miss Ward. Yes. Okay, so we have Reverend Griffin. I see. I know now. That's one person I know. I know her background for real, for real. Um, and she has a very intensive background. You guys, she does a lot. I follow her. I'm in a lot of her emails. So yes, go ahead. Tell us about what you do and your organization.
I am Reverend Jocelyn Griffin, and I am the founder, unfortunately, of my son's demise here in Houston in the county jail. Was not supposed to be there, but his unalive had brought me so much pain, and so I've taken those wounds and made mighty works out of it. And as I share and continue my missions through God, I don't know how I will get through this, but I faced 5 years of no closure
Mm.
for my son. But I have been able to communicate from Washington, D.C., back down to Texas and right here to um, our state house, and just advocating for so many who cannot advocate for themselves. And it's been a privilege, just to be able to communicate with so many, when so many families are not able to reach, and definitely those who can't speak out for themselves. So it's been just a profound loss in the absence of my son. But I feel that he will be very happy to know that his name has reached so many countries. Right now is 20 countries. And I
Wow.
just wanted to tell my story. I just wanted people to know what I've experienced. And it's okay to speak no matter who is on the other side when you are a victim. It's okay to share because when it comes to the system, there's a lot of people who are afraid.
Yeah.
But I say to anyone, don't be. Be encouraged to speak up for so many family, friends, and community members who can't speak for themselves. So, as I continue my advocacy, I give each of you my gratitudes and just thankful that you all are out there speaking. It may not seem like it because I don't see it myself, but so many behind those closed doors,
Mm.
these meetings weekly, they say your voice matters.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So I have Nakia Hunter up next.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Nakia Hunter, and I am the co-founding executive director and I guess boots on the ground worker for RJPMC. The Racial Justice Police Misconduct Center kind of fills in for families where they're at. You know, we meet you where you're at. We know that no family should fight alone, and it doesn't matter where you're at in the nation. I'll figure out your state's laws. I'll figure out how to assist you in your case. I give it my all. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. My brother was murdered 7 years ago here in Vancouver, Washington. In Washington state, we have some of the strongest police reform laws, and yet and still they still let us down. So I think that as we have been and as we will continue, lace our boots up and show up for one another and remember that we're stronger together. So if you ever need my organization or me, I'm nothing but a phone call or a shout away. My phone number is all across everything I print, and my website is www.rjpmc.org. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
next we have Joanna Bradshaw.
I'm Joanna Bradshaw, founder of Inmate and Family Resources. And most of my work is, well, of course, Ashley knows with prison.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a whole different, just right now it's just a mess. But we, help families. We try to help them navigate through the system, and if they need something, we we'll figure out a way to help. If I don't know it, I'll find another group that does. I work with another group that knows quite a bit. So if I can't help them, then I'll find somebody that can. We also we do a lot. So my information's out there. I think I put it out there.
It's okay. We'll put it out there for you.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Because I'll pass people to you.
yeah. Thank you, Ashley.
So I'm just gonna let you guys know, if you inbox me and you have any incarceration questions or you're an incarcerated family, I no longer work in that area, so you will be pushed on over to Joanna Bradshaw. That is my go-to. I don't have the time. As much as I want to do it all, I can't. So I kind of left that piece alone, but I do support. And you can reach out to me, but just know I'm pushing you over. So yeah, about that.
I love you, Ashley. You're a good girl.
Yep.
You're so sweet.
So we are getting ready to wrap this up. We thank you guys so much. We probably will have to do this same conversation. I don't know, you guys, maybe quarterly, because I feel like people really need to know. And we'll definitely get better with the technology. I promise on the next go around, it won't be so bad. But I feel like we know that there's somebody that dies every second of the day, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these conversations people are going to miss. So we have to keep having them over and over and over and over again, because there's so many people that's being affected, unfortunately. Sometimes our conversations may vary and be a little bit different based on what the trend is for that quarter. It could be mostly gun violence for that month that we may need to dive in a little bit deeper because we know community violence is on the rise. So, you guys, we're here. If you have any questions that you need answered, if we don't have the answers, we're going to find it for you. You have some really dedicated people here. And use the resources that they have, use their organizations for help because we know you cannot do it alone. Everybody here has a story on why they are where they are. And so we've been in your shoes before, but we want you to stay connected. So we'll definitely put out the information on how to connect with all the organizations. We will also put a link up for a toolkit. So the toolkit has how to collect evidence and things like that. It has a checklist and a lot of things that we mentioned right here in the town hall. It's a workbook that you can print out and use it, and it'll kind of guide you into where you need to be. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to one of us and we'll be able to assist you. But you're not alone. Your loved one matters. Your story matters. Your voice matters. So thank you for tuning in to our town hall, our June town hall, building your case. Bye.
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 Okay, she need to end.